both Camposes in the wall. That's unbelievable. And you do wonder whether they've both hit the floor in the braking zone on the way down there, or if that's just pure coincidence between the two of them. Looking over at his teammate, Pepe Marti, kind of leans over and asks, what happened to you? Well, let's have a look at it then.
There's one. Into the barrier. A long way. Wait for the second one. Absolutely bizarre. Both Camposes having the same moment at the first turn. We begin with our championship leader. Double lockup, hits the barrier, and wait for it, Pepe Marti joins the party.
I don't know what happened. We lost the brakes. When we lost the brakes, there was nothing. Okay.
So one of two things has happened there. They've either gone too low with both cars, and the plank underneath the car has lifted the front tyre off the floor.
I think my brakes died completely.
Or they've overblanked the brakes to try to get temperature in the front of the car, and then the brakes have just switched off for both drivers. So that's a pure engineering. That's a pure engineering issue for both Camposes, and it was never really going to be a coincidence, was it? When they both went in at the first apex into the wall, so they both switched the brakes off.
It's miles down there. That runoff is understandably, given how quick every car that's going into turn one is going, is such a long way, and thank goodness it is. But our championship leader, who is also going to be investigated by the stewards for a pit stop infringement in this qualifying session, is out along with his teammate and his fellow academy driver for Red Bull. They're beginning the debrief.
So we'll see if it's at the race director's total discretion. You may lose it, you may not. We'll see if that rule is evoked through the rest of the weekend, but definitely not good news for the two Campos cars.
Turning into a tough run for Isack Hadjar, who has impressed so many with his 4 wins so far this year. And Pepe Marti asking about the easy way back. They're asking if they can cross the track, and you've got to have permission to cross the track. Otherwise, there's a bridge on the left of your picture, chaps. Well, they're right, our left, and they're working with the marshals. A good reminder, you don't want to get yourself...
We are focused so much on the current order. It's 4 minutes and 14 seconds. If the tyre is allowed to go cool again, as the two Campos drivers are ushered across the road to rejoin the pit lane. Lucky boys, because it's quite a long walk. You made it sound so simple, but it's quite a long walk around to get back into the pit lane. But 4 minutes and 14 seconds is not a long time to get the tyre back up to temperature with how long this circuit is.
Yeah.
You have to go relatively quickly in order to get another flying lap in. It's a long lap anyway. So depending on how long this red flag is and how quickly the recovery is done, will have a massive bearing on if the drivers remaining in the session are allowed to go for it or do have the time to go for it again.
You know the runoff area is a long way when they're having to jog out of it to cross the track in time. Thank goodness it is the case. The two Campos boys who have vaulted their team into championship contention. Campos 208 points at the start of the weekend, trying to chase down Invicta on 228.5 points after round 11 in Monza. This is the moment that brought out the red flag. The two Campos cars with a moment that sent both to the barrier.
I mean, must be quite the experience. Firstly, to see your teammate go off and go, oh dear, my teammate's crashed, and then to follow him in and go, right, as have I. That'll be the reasoning for that then. Isack Hadjar, the driver who really will be wanting to work out what's gone on there, because this could be a huge weekend for the Formula 2 Championship. Isack Hadjar, 165 points. Gabriel Bortoleto, who remains in the session, 154.5. 7th at the moment for Bortoleto would be a very good place to start both races. But if they get going again, Hadjar could easily be demoted out of the reverse grid positions.
There is the Campos team talking to their drivers way earlier than they were.
Sits inside the tyre and bleeds temperature through to it. So it's a key benefit if you are trying to get the front tyre up to temperature. The front tyre, of course, comes up to temperature slower because it's not delivering the power of the engine to the road. It's only turning the car. And it also meets the air first, so it gets cooled more quickly. So effectively, they burn them from the inside with...
Isack Hadjar with the unpleasant experience of watching the final part of qualifying with all of us. The driver who had an excellent first part of the season before the summer break. We were not racing in Zandvoort, but when we went to Monza, he did not take any points away. Massive point swing as he's right at the rubber marks, and the inquest now into its 5th minute as they continue on. Track temperature, just the information for you, 44 degrees. Air temperature is 30 degrees. We had rain earlier on in practice, that has disappeared. And lots of intense discussions going on the Campos pit.
Yeah, and knowing the character that Isack Hadjar is, he will want all the answers right now, won't he, with regards to that one. They are locked. They are locked with the front tyre. So there's obviously some braking performance going on. The rear wheels are still driving there, so perhaps the initial diagnosis might not be the correct one. We'll have to wait and see what the team say after the session. In any case, it's quite clearly an issue that's afflicting both cars, and I don't think can be laid at the driver's door in either case.
No, and they were discussing immediately before being allowed to cross the track and check in with their team to have that conversation. And we've told you about the season for Isack Hadjar because he's been a contender all the way through.